All right, so Doug Griffiths, hoping to be the next Premier of Alberta. You've got 5 policy points that you list on your, or that you listed in your announcement yesterday. Just want to quickly ask you a question about each of them. The first one is education from kindergarten to post-secondary. Now, as a former educator yourself, what issues do you see in the current education system that most need addressing today?
Well, for every single one of those 5 policy areas, we're going to flesh out exactly what we're talking about a little more. But my first impression of why we put it on the list of 5 things to tackle, schools, I honestly believe, whether it's in a community in Calgary or in Cardston, schools are community schools. They're not just educational institutions, they're part of a community. So I think we need to discuss, when we're talking about education, the fact that our schools are community enterprises. And it's important for communities like Lougheed that's potentially going to have its school closed. But it's also critical in Edmonton and Calgary, where there are some community schools that have closed down, but they're part of the community structure. So adopting a community school mentality would be important. When we're talking about transforming our economy as well, I mean, research using universities and the research and development that goes along, the commercialization of technology that's developed, we have some amazing discoveries that are helping around oil sands development, we just had the discovery about cancer and more information about how cancer actually forms here in Alberta. I mean, so those can help develop a new economy. But it doesn't just start at university, it has to start right at kindergarten. So getting the proper education, I personally would like to see mandatory kindergarten covered, part of the educational process, again, back in this province, so that we can follow from kindergarten right through and make sure that we've got the best quality education and the most trained, skilled workforce possible.
Great. Okay, now your second point in the release was land stewardship and environmental issues. There's been a lot of discussion in the public about land use and the new Provincial Parks Act and many other things. How would you juggle the competing interests of individual landowners and entrepreneurs with the interests of Albertans as a society of consumers and recreationalists?
Yeah, that's how long do you have? that's a huge topic to try and digest and discuss, because it covers so many avenues, and I freely admit I don't have all the answers on how this is going to work. But we've got issues around 3 pieces of legislation the province has passed, and property owners who have some very legitimate concerns about their property rights that I think we need to redress and make sure that those concerns are addressed. But we still have infrastructure we need to build around the province. We still have industry that needs to be developed, because, I mean, we need jobs, we need an economy, and so we need industry. But there is no way that I know of a single person that wants to leave an environmental deficit to the next generation, which is worse, quite frankly, than leaving a fiscal deficit. Not that that's a good thing. So, I mean, that's why it's one of the most critical issues we're going to address. The environment is where our economy, I mean, all the natural resources we have, that's what our economy is built on, and that we're going to use to diversify into a new economy. But it's also where we recreate, it's where we play, and it needs to be preserved and enhanced and made sure that the environment is good. So we have competing interests, and quite frankly, the government cannot dictate and hand down what the solutions are. We need to have that discussion with industry and Albertans and people with environmental understanding and concern and the resources available to sit and have a discussion on how we're going to balance all these, because that's ultimately what it's going to be about.
Great. Okay. Now, your third point was reforming government and empowering employees. Right. Now, you're notorious in the Alberta provincial political scene for asking people what they think instead of telling people what they think. And that's going to be one of the strengths of your campaign, I think, going forward. When you ask Albertans what kind of democratic or electoral reform they want to see in Alberta's second century as a province, what kind of answers are you getting back?
I get so many different answers back. Some people want to change the entire first-past-the-post system. Some want more public committees so that there's more discussion before we get to the legislative process. Some in the legislative process want more free votes, or they want more discussion in the legislature before, and not using canned speeches. All of those are very valid. The thing that always sticks in my mind that I think I hear in every single comment and every single idea, because everyone has merits, but they also have challenges as well, is that somehow we have to make sure that we turn the power of the legislature back to the people of this province so that they feel like they have control. And nobody can tell me that Albertans feel engaged when it comes to the legislative process, or we wouldn't have 40% voter turnout in this province. Something has got to make all Albertans, but particularly Albertans from 18 to 45, feel more engaged and part of the process and like they have some control. And maybe they're happy because everything's working well, but they should still go vote and they should still participate. And somehow we've got to find a process to make that work. Now, for instance, I don't know exactly what the solutions will be, but some people suggest that maybe you need to change the voting system so that you can get more parties in the legislature, which I think would make for great debate. I'm fully in favor of that. But I'm concerned about every party generating a list and taking the percentage of popular vote, and then you appoint people down the list to sit as MLAs. Because I know, particularly in my constituency, there's 40,000 people there that know that if they have an issue, they phone me. They see me in their community, they know me. If I don't represent a particular area, regardless of the population, then a lot of people would say, which MLA do I phone? Because if you're appointed off the list, you don't necessarily represent a different area. So there's all sorts of challenges on how we're going to come up with the right solution for democratic reform. But we're not going to come up with solutions if we're not willing to start discussing it. It's important we do.
Good.